Hello, this is Keith Owen. Welcome back. Today we're going to be talking about the VLOOKUP in Microsoft Excel 365, and then we're going to compare how does a VLOOKUP look in Python. So in future videos, I'll switch back and forth between Excel and Python and other topics. But I want to do a comparison type video series on functions that are in Excel, but then how do we execute that same type of functionality in Python? Because as a data analyst, you work with many different platforms, including Excel, and obviously you integrate both of them together and other platforms too. So I want to be able to teach you on all that stuff that I have learned over the years. Well, anyways, today's tutorial is on VLOOKUP, and let's first visit what is a VLOOKUP and why should we have something like this, including with your data sets. So VLOOKUP stands for vertical lookup, and in Excel to search for a specific value in a column in a table, and then return that value in the same row from a specified column. Now, its purpose is to find related data across different tables or lists by using a common key or identifier. In our case, we're using a patient's data set, and the unique key or common key between the main table and the lookup table are the patient's IDs in both tables, which can be used as that common key. So why use a VLOOKUP instead of leaving data in two tables? Meaning, let's go over to our data set. Meaning we have this data set, a bunch of different columns relating to patients' visits. So in this particular case, we have a patient ID, but we don't have the patient name or patient's age in this particular case. And so the question is, why put that information in another table? And if you have it in another table, how can we get it linked up into the same table so we can perform other functionality with it? So let's go back over here. So if we want to bring information into one main table, why should we want to do this? Well, consolidation purposes. Combining related data now in different tables into one cohesive data set makes it easier to analyze and visualize the information. Another reason could be for efficiency. When performing data analysis, having all relevant data in a single table can reduce the complexity and time required to perform operations. So instead of constantly switching between tables to gather your information, you could quickly access the necessary data from one consolidated source. Another reason could be consistency. Now, using VLOOKUP helps ensure that you are working with consistent, synchronized data. So if you update a patient's information in one table, you can easily update the related data in a main table using VLOOKUP. Now, that reduces the chances of discrepancies. Filtering and sorting, well, could be another reason. With all the data in one table, you could easily apply filters, sort data, and use other Excel functionalities to gather insights and make informed decisions. For example, you could filter patients based on their age or sort them alphabetically by name. Now, I do understand that VLOOKUP is the predecessor to the other types of lookups that we have today, like XLOOKUP. But I just want to give you an idea how we could utilize this in both Python and in Excel. So let's first look at VLOOKUP in Excel first. So here's our main table. As you can see, we have a patient ID. Now, our lookup table is in this table. So we also have a patient ID. So that's your common key between the two tables. What I want to do is I want to bring over the related patient's name and age over to the main table over here. So how can we do that with VLOOKUP? Well, let's look at it. Equal VLOOKUP. The lookup value. The lookup value is your common key or common column between the two tables. So we're going to select the patient ID column in the main table, Control Shift down arrow, Control backspace. In this particular case, we want to fix the range because I want to copy this over to the next column. So, which means that I always want to look up the value in the same column. So now the table array is going to be found in the lookup table. The table array is all this information here. So I'm going to select all of it. Okay. Now the next argument is the column index number. Now what do we mean by the column index number? So if we scroll back up to the top, the column index number is, so in this array here, the table array here, we want to bring back, once we find a match on the patient ID, we want to bring back certain values. In this particular case, I want to bring back the patient's name. So the patient's name in this array or table is the second column. So that's where I get the column index number, comma. The last argument, we want to find the exact match. So we want to find the exact patient ID in both tables. So I want to put false as this value here, close out and press enter. As you can see now, it brought back all the patient's name related to this particular patient ID in each one of these rows. So I found a match, this patient ID, we found that match in the lookup table. Once we found that, we brought back the related patient's name. Now let's bring back the patient's age in there because as you can see in this lookup table, we also have the age. So let's do that. What we can do, since here I wanted to fix this. I forgot to fix this. Let's highlight that, press F4, press enter. Okay, took care of that. Now when I copy this over to the next column, it keeps those ranges fixed. But one thing we need to change in this particular case, instead of bringing back the patient's name, we want to bring back the age. So the age is in column 3 in this lookup table. So that's index number 3. So let's go over here. Oops, I did it. Let's Control Z. Let's do this. There we go. Now we have the right information, the patient's name and their respective age. So that's a VLOOKUP in Excel. Now let's see how we could do this in Python. Let's go over here. Our first step, first of all, I'm using the Jupyter Notebooks IDE to execute my Python scripts. So what we want to do is we want to import the necessary libraries in order to perform the actions that we're about to perform. So we want to first import the necessary libraries. So I'm going to press B to insert a new cell below this. And what I want to do is I want to import the Pandas library, because within the Pandas library, we have a method called read Excel. And we want to be able to access that in order to read in our Excel file and perform whatever we need to perform on it. So our statement is import Pandas as PD, Control Enter to execute this cell. Okay, and what I'm doing is I'm just giving an alias to this library. So when we need to access certain functionality from the Pandas library, all we have to do is type in PD, and you'll see that in a second. So our next step is to create a variable name that's gonna hold the name of our data set. So let's go over here, press B to insert a new cell. And we do that by typing in a variable name of our choice. I'm just calling it file path. You can call it whatever you want. And in double quotes, I'm going to put in the file path name. Now, in this particular case, all I have to do is add the file name because this script that I'm running is in the same directory as my file name that we're going to read in. So hospital, bear with me as I type in the name of the file. Okay, let's press enter. Now, after we do that, now what we want to do is we want to load the data set with both sheets. So in other words, let's go back to Excel. What we want to do is we want to load in first our main table, then we want to load in our lookup table. So let's do that. Let's go back here. Okay. We call the variable name. I choose visits underscore DF stands for data frame. Again, you could call your variable whatever you want, whatever makes sense. Now, this is where the alias comes in because we want to access certain functionality from the Pandas library. And one of them is read underscore XL. Now, the first argument or parameter, the argument basically to read XL is you want to path in the file name. So this is where setting a variable name comes in handy. So the second argument to this, which are optional, is we need to specify the sheet name that we want to read in. Now, sheet selection, now by default, pd.readXL reads data from the first sheet of your Excel file, unless you specify a different sheet using a sheet name parameter, which you'll see in a second. Now, the data range it reads in, the function starts reading data from the first row, first column of a specific sheet. Now, it automatically detects the column headers and data. Now, by chance, if your data range starts in another row or column instead of row 1 or column 1, you could use the skip rows and use calls parameters in pd.read underscore XL to specify the starting point of your data. Now, if we go back to our Excel file, you can see that my data starts in cell A1 with the column headers. So again, if your data range started in another range area, then you need to specify that with those other optional parameters. So let's go back here. So now we're going to use the sheet name parameter, sheet underscore name. You set it equal to whatever your sheet name is in your Excel file. So mine is visits, data, close that out, press enter. Now, let's look at this data set now before we do the VLOOKUP. But in Excel, you'll see down below as we get to that, VLOOKUP is actually called merge. So let's display the data first by typing in the variable name that holds the data frame. As you can see, it read in our data frame. So if we go over to our data set, starts with visit ID, ends with amount paid by patient. And there we go. It read in the data set. But as you can see, it doesn't have those extra columns that we're going to add in shortly. So now let's add in another cell. Now let's create a variable name. Let's copy this and then change some things here first. Let's see. So now let's change this variable name to patients. And now we're going to read in the same file path, but we're going to change the sheet name to the lookup table name, or the name of the tab that holds the patient mapping. So it's, in my case, I call the sheet name patient mapping. Okay, now let's look at what it read in. Let's press Control Enter. As you can see, let's go back to the Excel file. It read in this data set. Okay, let's go back over here. So it read that in. So now we got two different data frames in Python that holds each sheet data from the Excel file. Now at this point, we want to perform the VLOOKUP. In Python, it's called merge. So let's go over here. Let's press B to add a new cell. Scroll down. And let's type in the code that we need here. So in this case, we want to merge the two data sets together. And then we want to merge the lookup table with the main table. So we're basically in memory going to overwrite the visits data frame equal to, now this is a syntax, you want to use the main table underscore data frame dot merge open parentheses, and we're going to pass in, first of all, the common key between the two tables. In this case, actually not the common key, not the first argument. The first argument is the data frame that we want to merge with the main data frame. In this case, it's called patients underscore data frame, comma, the next parameter is going to be the on parameter, which is equal to the common key. In this case, it's called patient ID. Remember, this matches what is in your Excel file, comma, the third parameter, in this case, how do we want to merge it? So we use the how parameter equal left, and I'll explain this in a second. Press enter. And now we want to display the merged results. So visits underscore df. Control enter to execute the script. Let's see what the error is. I might just have a typo on it. Give me a second. Patients underscore, okay, I did, let's see, what did I call it up here? Give me a second. I just did a typo. Let's see, where is it? There we go. I just misspelled some. Control enter again. And as you can see, here's the merged data set now. As you can see over here to the right, it brought in the patient's name and the age related to each patient ID. So let's scroll back up here for a second. Let's explain the merge function here. Now, the how parameter here, it specifies how the merge should be done. In this case, we call the left join. It means that all rows from the visits data frame, okay, which is the main table, will be kept. Okay, that's the left table in this case. The matching rows from the patient's data frame, which is the lookup table, will be added, meaning it's the right table, data frame lookup table. Okay, now if there is no matching patient ID in the lookup table, the resulting columns from the patient's table, patient's data frame, which is the lookup table, will have a NaN value, which stands for not a number of those rows. So that's basically how you could perform a VLOOKUP in Python. And again, VLOOKUP is just called merge because we're using a Pandas library in this case, and it's called merge. So that's how we could do this. So hopefully this tutorial gave you an idea how you could do certain things in Excel and how you can accomplish the same thing in Python. Again, I want to thank you for stopping by today. You have a great day, and remember to subscribe to my channel, because if you do, you always get notified when I upload a new video. And two, please like and share this video, because it helps with the YouTube algorithm, and when that happens, other people are able to see this video. And I know there's other data analysts out there that want to know this information if they don't know it already. So thank you again. Thank you for supporting the channel, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye now.